Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to build a web scraper that scrapes unlimited email addresses from Google Maps, and for free. You're not going to have to use any third-party APIs, no credentials, limits, credits, anything like that. It's very simple. We're only going to use core N8N nodes, the HTTP request node and the code node, and N8N of course, to scrape unlimited amount of emails basically. So let me show you a quick demo of how this works. Now if you go to Google Maps here, you see that if you search for New York dentist, for example, let's say you want to scrape dentists or dentist practices in New York. If you search for that, you see that we only get a few select businesses here, right? We don't get the rest of New York. So if we want to scrape New York, what we have to do is we have to dig deeper into subregions of New York and scrape each subregion by itself. So how do I do that? Well, I go to ChatGPT first and I give it this prompt here, and I ask it to give me a list of search queries for the keyword dentist for 100 sub areas, micro neighborhoods of New York. It doesn't have to be 100, but I limited it to 100, right? So, and also give it this example here of how I want the query structured, or how I want the JSON structured. And it gives me this JSON here with multiple queries, exactly as I want them structured, because that's what N8N needs them, or how N8N needs them. So now I copy this and I go back here to N8N. Now here I have two workflows basically. One is the main scraping workflow. So for each query, for example, let's say Hamilton dentist or a southeast side dentist, it will run this workflow and scrape all the emails of the businesses in that region, or those businesses that Google Maps shows us for that region. So to run this workflow, I have another one that I call a runner. In this runner here, I have the list of all the regions that we're going to scrape. And for each region, it's going to loop over all the regions. And for each region, it's going to execute this workflow that scrapes all the emails for that region. So that's basically how this works. So now I have a few, for testing purposes, I have a few here. I'm going to add some more. So let's go back to ChatGPT. Let's take all these 100 regions, go in here and just paste them in here, right? So now I have 100 regions here, 100 regions that are part of New York. So East Village, Hell's Kitchen, etc. So let's save this and let's run this now. Click on test workflow and it starts running now. Here is a wait node that waits now it's 5 seconds. I set it to wait for 5 seconds between each execution. It's better to do so. It causes less issues when I run it this way, so that's why. Otherwise you might have issues with some emails overwriting other emails and just a lot of problems basically. So this is the better way to do it. I found this to be the better way. So it's running now, and now this workflow is getting executed here in the background. You can see it. To see that, we go to all executions here. Let's save that, yes. Go to all executions here, and now you can see all the executions that have started. And you can see now that there's a 5-second interval between each execution here. That one errored, okay, we don't care about that. Now that's a great thing with running each region as its own execution, while I loop through all these queries and run each one by itself. If one of these errors, we can just ignore that and continue the execution and get emails for the rest of the regions. So this succeeded now. If you go to the sheet, you can see we already started getting some emails. So we already received around 58 emails now, and we're going to be receiving many more. So if we go back here, we can see we have some running here. One more succeeded. Now let's go back here to the email sheet, and now we have many more. We used to have 58. I think we have 187. And now it's going to keep on running. I'm going to fast forward this so you can see, so you don't have to wait, and we can see how much we get. So I'm back here now a few minutes later, and you can see that all executions have finished. So let's go and have a look at the sheets. And we can see now I have scraped, or it has scraped for us, many emails here. Scraped as much as 1,228 emails. And all of this totally for free. And we could have scraped more actually. Now I asked ChatGPT only to give me 100 subregions, but if we had more subregions, we could have scraped much more. So these are all emails from subregions of New York. So yeah, so that's basically how the scraper works. Now, if you want to build this yourself, follow along and I'll show you how to do that step by step. Okay, now we're gonna start by creating the workflow, the scraping workflow, not the other one. So the first step here is, let's go to Google Maps, and you can see here I have this Upper East Side Dentist query here, and it will show us this page. So to scrape this page, now we don't need this part of the URL. It's not that important. We can remove this. I click on enter, and we will still get a similar page here with some businesses from the Upper East Side. Now the important part here is this part. This is the actual query here, Upper East Side Dentist. And you see those plus signs? It's because a URL cannot include white spaces. So they use plus signs here instead. So we copy that, and we go back to N8N here, click on this node, and click here, edit output. And this is the default data structure that N8N works with. Now we only have one query, so we only need one object. So I can remove this part here. We also remove that comma, we don't need that. And this object is only gonna consist of one item, one property. So remove that, and we have this name property. We're gonna call this query. And then we're gonna paste our query here, like so. And let's click on save. It should work. Okay, we need to remove that comma as well. Okay, now it works. So let's save this. So now we have one query to execute. And here we're gonna create a HTTP node. I'm gonna go back here and take this part, HTTPS, google.com app, search. We copy this and we paste it in here. Then we're gonna have the dynamic part that's gonna change based on the query. So we're gonna do double curly brackets, JSON dot query. This part here tells us that we want this the input that is coming in here, the object, which is where is it? Well, you can see it when we test it. Let's test this first. Let's test this step. And we got some HTML here. So this is the HTML for this website that you're seeing here, Upper East Side. If you look at the JSON input here, you see we got this object, right? Now, when you get one object like this as an input, to refer to that object, you do JSON. You write JSON, then dot, and then the property name. So that's JSON.query means this object dot query. So the query inside of this object, that's how you refer to that. You refer to it as JSON.query. So this will be replaced by when this is executed, this part here will be replaced by Upper East Side Dentist, and we will get this whole part. Remove this, we will get this whole part, and it will execute this and run a HTTP request for this URL. And we will get this page as HTML back. And that is what you can see here. Now that we got our page here in HTML format, the next step will be to extract all the URLs for the businesses from this page. To do that, we're going to add a code node. I'm going to remove this code here, and I have some code, custom code, we're going to paste in here. So what this does first is it takes the input, which is what we receive here, and it takes the JSON data. So it takes this property here with the HTML and saves it in this variable, data variable here. Then it uses a regular expression here. This regular expression extracts or matches URL addresses. So it uses this regular expression to match URL addresses, and it will save them in this URLs variable. And then it will return the URLs as an array, as you will see here. Let's test this step, and we will get it in this structure. That's what this part does. It returns the URLs in this structure. That is the default structure that N8N wants to work with. Now you can see here that we received a lot of URLs that we're not really interested in, like business.google.com, etc., ggpht, Google APIs. These are not really businesses that we're looking for. So gstatic, etc. So we want to remove those, and we're going to do that by using a filter node. Now I realized I made a mistake. So before we add a filter, let's first go back to the HTTP request here. You see that when I added this JSON query like this, if you click on expression, it is red and undefined. So it does not work. What we need to do is add a $sign before the JSON word. And now it is green and it means it works and it's correct. So let's go back now here and add a filter node, clicking here, filter, and let's run test this step. So we get the input. Okay, click on schema and take this URL here. We can drag this over here. And here we choose string and does not match regex. And here I have a regular expression. I'm going to paste in. What this does is it does not match and it filters out the URLs that contains any of these words like Google, gstatic, ggpht, schema.org, example.com, etc. So let's test this. And you see now we get all of these nice URLs here, Sugar Hill Corners Dentistry, etc., Sugar Hill Family Dental, and it discards all of this Google stuff that we don't want. Now we're going to have some duplicate URLs here. Like you see this, for example, Sugar Hill Corners Dentistry are duplicates, and there's a lot of other duplicates as well. So we want to remove those. To do that, I'm going to add another node, remove duplicates, like so. That's basically all I have to do. And it's going to remove the duplicates. Now the next step is we want to start doing some scraping. So I'm going to click here and take a loop node, loop over items. I'm going to replace this one with a HTTP request node. So that, open this up, and here we're going to do JSON, not forget the $, JSON.url. And now this is gonna request, the loop will loop over all the URLs, and this is gonna request every URL for us. All right, now let's add another loop node here. Well, before that, let's go back here first and go to settings, and on error, we choose continue using error output. What this means is that if there's an error caused by any of these requests, it will be outputted through this pipe, and we're just gonna ignore that. Okay, now let's add another loop. Let's leave that so. And what this is gonna do is, after this loop, we're gonna have a bunch of HTML pages. So this is gonna loop over each page, and then we're gonna request, or we're gonna scrape that page for email addresses. So I'm gonna remove this and add a code node. Run some custom code. Run once for each item. And here we're gonna paste in this code here. So we have a regular expression here for matching emails. This part here, make sure it doesn't match images, like URLs basically ending on p.png, jpg, etc. And that's it. Basically, you can remove this console log. That's just for logging what's happening to the console for debugging purposes. Yeah. All right, now let's test this. And yeah, go back here first and go to the settings, and also make sure to set this, continue using error output for the same reason. And now let's test this workflow. Invalid URL. What is invalid here? Well, let's go in here. Let's do continue here as well. All right. So make sure to set this, the settings here, set this to continue using our output as well. So if you have some URL that's invalid, we'll just skip that one. Okay. Workflow executed. Now this part didn't get executed for some reason. How come? Loop branch. The done part. Let's see here. Let's add another node here. This node, aggregate node. I'll explain this a little bit later. So let's try running this again now. Okay, this connection doesn't work. I'm gonna debug this and come back. Okay, I'm back now and I found a problem in the HTTP node here. I had set this to continue using error output. We should just leave this as continue. So that was the issue, but the loop nodes should still have continue using error output. Okay. So what's happening now is, if we go to this node here, this loops over all the pages that we receive after doing requests here. So it loops over the pages, and for each page, it scrapes the web page, and then it gives you some URL addresses. You see different iterations here. Some of them return nothing, some of them return emails. They're all returned as arrays, basically lists. So now, after that, what we want to do is we want to aggregate, use this aggregate node here. We want to aggregate all these arrays of emails into one array of arrays. So one list of lists of emails. To do that, we're gonna take this email field here, and we're gonna choose individual fields, yes. And then let's test this step. Node executed successfully. Okay, let's test the workflow. Right. So if you look here now, you will see that we get this JSON, we get this list or array here with multiple email arrays. Now we want to transform this into the default data structure that N8N works with. To do that, we're going to add another node here. This is called a, what's it called? Go down, split out node. And we're gonna split out the emails here. No other field, yes. So maybe we can test it here directly. This is not how we wanted this. So we're gonna need to go back to this aggregate node, and here we're going to add field called merge lists, enable this. Now let's run this again. Let's go click here, have a look, and yeah, now we have all our emails in the format that we want them. So this is the default data structure for N8N. It's an array of objects. So this is exactly how we want it. Okay. Now we will be having some duplicate email addresses. So for that, we're going to add a remove duplicates here. No setting it up. It's all we're going to have to do there. And then the final step now is to save this to Google Sheets. So here I'm going to choose append a row in Sheet. Now, if you don't already have Google Sheets connected, you can check out the video above where I'll show you how to do that. So here I have my account connected already, and I choose a sheet within a document because I also have a document created already. Append row from list. Here I'm going to choose by ID. So if I go to my document here, you see this part, exactly this part, that's the ID. So I'm going to copy that, paste it in here. And then the sheet you can choose here from a list. And I'm going to choose sheet 1, map each column manually, and then the values to send. So the values, I'm going to get them by executing previous nodes. And then we're going to drag this down here. Yep. That's it basically. Now let's test out the workflow. Okay, the workflow finished executing. So let's go and have a look. And you can see now that we have a few email addresses here. Great, so the workflow works. Let's go back. Now the next step is to create the workflow that's gonna run this workflow. So to do that, let's go to home and add workflow. I'm just gonna call this run. Now one thing I forgot to do is let's go back here and we're gonna have to change this trigger, move this like so, and we're gonna add another trigger. It's called execute workflow trigger. When called by another workflow, click on that, just leave this as is. Connect this here. Now we're gonna start by adding a loop node. Just leave it as is. I'm gonna replace this with a run workflow or execute workflow. Now we're gonna choose not the trigger but the action here, call another workflow. So this is going to call the other workflow for each iteration. Leave database from list here. See here. So we can choose the name of a workflow. I called the one scrape and the mode run once. Run once for each item. Yes. And now if you just run it like this, we're gonna have some issues. It's gonna, you're gonna be running the workflows in parallel at the same time, and they're gonna be overriding each other in the Google Sheet. So you're just gonna end up with like 4 emails, no matter how many executions you do. So for that reason, I'm gonna add a timer. Wait. I'm gonna add some time interval here, 5 seconds. I think it's good, so I'm gonna leave that 5 seconds. Now I'm gonna go to my ChatGPT here, and I'm gonna copy this whole list of 100 queries, 100 regions. I'm gonna go back here, and inside of here, click on edit here, and we're gonna paste it in here, like so. Let's go to the bottom and remove this. So we have no errors. On save. And now let's run this. You see now that it takes 5 seconds here before it runs the next workflow. So if we go back to our other workflow, you see that nothing is happening here because it's happening in the background. To see the executions, we click on all executions. Save this, yes. All executions, and you see execution starting here, running. And some have already succeeded. So let's go and have a look at our Google Sheets. And you can see that we already started getting some emails. Or is it in the, no, it's the third sheet actually. You see here that we have emails coming in gradually. So if you scroll down here, I'm just gonna confirm this. Yes, it's doing it for sheet number 1. It's supposed to be doing it for sheet number 1, yeah? Yeah. You see that emails are coming gradually here. If you wait a little while, you will see some more emails popping up here. So let's have a look at the workflows executions tab. As soon as one succeeds here, we will have some more emails popping up. You can see now this succeeded. And now we have a few more emails here. So now we're just gonna have to wait for all the workflows to finish executing, and then you're gonna have somewhere around 1,000 plus emails. If you want more emails, you can just ask ChatGPT for more regions, and then you go to the runner here, and you just add those regions to your list, basically. So this is how it works, basically. Now you see that we got an error here, and this error caused this whole workflow to stop. So to solve this, we go to settings here in the loop, and we choose continue here. If one of the workflows error, we just skip that and keep moving on. So this is also a good reason why we do it this way, instead of running the list through this through the main workflow. Because if we're running through the main workflow, we have an error, it all just crashes and we can't keep on scraping. So this way, by executing one workflow for each query, if one query for some reason down the road causes an error, we can just skip that query and then move on to other regions and other queries and keep on scraping. So this is all for this video. If you'd like to get the resources, you will find them in the description below, the code and stuff. And if you have any feedback to me or any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll respond to them as quickly as possible. Also, if you want to get this as a template, you'll find a link in the description to a LinkedIn post where you can interact and get this template. Other than that, I wish you a nice day. Hope to see another video. Take care.